This is April.
And this is Tiffany.
And you're listening to the Tea of Life podcast, where we enjoy telling each adventure of life.
We hope that you enjoy listening today as we dive into this week's episode.
Today on our show, I have a good friend of mine, Allison Mackey. Woohoo!
Hello.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I asked Allison. But first, I'm going to tell you, Allison, I really asked you on the show because I need to confess, you are where I want to be. And I'll tell you why. So, okay, I've known Allison for about 20 years. I think that's roughly because when I came into the Vineyard Church, that's where we met. Yes. It was at Marietta Vineyard. And we played on worship teams together. Well, you and your husband, Chad, played. And then I would just sing because you play piano, guitar, penny whistle, and D, no, whatever.
And you didn't bring any of that with you, did you?
I know. What little concert.
Left him in my other pants. Sorry.
Yeah. So, what else do you play?
I play a little bit of saxophone, a little percussion, but my primary instrument is my voice.
Yeah, I remember home groups with you, going to your house when you guys were down from the church where Marietta Vineyard was at the time, that Lower Roswell area, and then doing rhythm and hues.
Oh, yes.
That was a lot
I
of fun.
loved it.
And Allison played at my wedding. I think I told you that. Yes, she played at my wedding.
It was awesome.
It was.
So what did you play?
I played the piano.
Okay, you didn't play the penny whistle?
No, didn't bring penny whistle that day.
I should have had that. So her and
I'm really sad you didn't bring it today.
Yeah, right. But do they have many different keys?
Every key, they're key specific. So if your song is in G, you must bring a G penny whistle, or it's going to be very hard to play.
Very helpful.
I have a D, which is traditional Irish. Key, and then I have a C, and then I have an F. But I like the D. It's just
I'm feeling a Facebook Live video coming.
I know, right? Oh, yes. Yes, so Allison played at my wedding, and I also sang in the choir part on a song on her album, You've Waited Long Enough. But that's right. I remember that album. I remember the basement that we recorded in.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And as long as I can remember, you've been writing songs and you've been writing novels, writing books. So the reason we asked you here today is because I wanted to talk to that angle of when your passion takes a long time to come to fruition. Right. And I say a long time, not as a snub to you, like it took you a long time. I'm saying you were where I want to be because I haven't even started yet. So I'm jealous, but why am I jealous? I haven't even started. So
I did start writing when I was a little kid. I had to create my bio today for my agent. And I thought, well, the first time I wrote anything as a book, I was 8.
Okay.
I'm 48 now. Okay. I'm almost 49. I'll be 49 next month. And it was a book of poems, and I gave it to my parents for Christmas.
Sweet.
And so I got a typewriter when I was 14 and wrote a terrible science fiction novel, so bad. I changed the name of the main character halfway through and didn't even notice. Yeah. Hilarious. So have just been writing, but then life got in the way. Had children, got married, college, grown-up things, adulting, and I just never stopped having stories in my head and decided to make it a priority to write. The thing that really, really helped me, without a doubt, is NaNoWriMo. I don't know if you know about that. It's the National Novel Writing Month. Oh. And we are in it right now. November is National Novel Writing Month. And the inspiration is to write a novel, which is 50,000 words in 30 days.
What?
And I've done it every year since 2011. And this most recent book that I actually got to send to an agent was written during NaNoWriMo 2015. Wow. And it's just one of the things that made me realize, okay, I'm going to have to set my alarm at 5 a.m. and get up and write. I have been writing just for extra money with this online community called Odesk.
Okay.
Odesk merged with Elance, and now they're called Upwork. But back when I started, it was called Odesk. And it's a global marketplace for anything that can be done on a computer. So I was being paid $10 per article to write, fill in the blank for whatever the client needed. This client needed detailed biographies on authors. And so I spent months and months learning the stories of hundreds of authors. And every one of them said, I got up at 3 a.m. and wrote before I started at the diner at 5. I got up at 4 a.m. and wrote before I taught school. Every single one of them said that. And I thought, okay, if I want to grow up and write stories and be able to pay my bills with them, I'm going to have to set my alarm at 4 a.m. and get up and write. And I did that and made it a priority. And it was a passion, but it was work. I mean, it was real work.
I was going to say, okay, I'm out.
You lost me. Sorry.
And it does help that I'm a morning person, but of course not everybody is. And you hear about really famous people and their advice is the difference between a writer and an author is persistence. I think really that was the word. Yes, I have passion for it, but persistence and the work part, I'm going to sit down and turn on my computer, even if I don't feel like it.
Right.
To get done, that's the difference between someone who's going to succeed and maybe someone who's just going to think about succeeding.
That's exactly, when you said that, that's like gold right there. We can put a pin in it and then call it a day. Because you lost me at 5. No, I'm just kidding. I think that's what, I mean, you can think of a lot of the successful people who talk about starting their day and they always start early, and they're diligent, they're faithful to it. Like you said, no matter if you feel like writing or not. So it's like, when does it's still a passion, it's still a desire, but passion is work. That's the bottom line. Is what I'm.
There was one author that said he's always heard certain writers only write when they're inspired. You do work at it. You read books on how to get better. That was another thing that really, a lot of artistic people get their feelings hurt when you say, oh, we need to tweak this and make it different. And and the same goes with writing music. There was a guy by the name of Brian Dirksen who listened to one of my worship songs.
Brian Dirksen, for those of you who might not know, is in the Vineyard community.
He's been in there since the 80s.
Okay, so he's written
still
songs and he's,
I was at a conference and just happened to be that he picked me to play one of my songs. And so I got to play in front of about 1,000 people and Brian Dirksen, this song I had just written. And anyway, the song was okay. But what he was talking about was this song is not your baby. This book is not my baby. This poem is not my baby. If I want to never show it to anybody else again, never have anybody buy it or want to read it, I can write whatever I want. But he said the way he put it that I loved as a believer, he said, we don't seek perfection in order to obtain the Father's blessing. We seek perfection because we have the Father's blessing. And that has stuck with me for 15 years.
That's a goosebumpy one.
Yeah, and it's true. So you don't bring the other thing about passion. There's a story about the life of King David in the Old Testament. He is the king and he wants to buy a certain field so he can put up an altar. And so he offers the owner money for it. And the owner said, oh, no, let me just donate it to you. And King David said, I will not give God that which costs me nothing.
Ooh, good.
That's another goosebump one. You've got to, if you want to play, you need to learn your scales. You need to get a book. You need to have some lessons. And you need to do your absolute best so that people can say, wow, God really has given this person a gift, Wow. And the same thing is for books. I read all these books on how to write better because I thought, okay, I write pretty well. But after I've read these books, I completely rewrote my novel and now I have an agent.
Right. So it's like constructive criticism. You take it because it's not they're not saying you have an ugly baby. They're just saying you might want to tweak this a little bit because I know by your tweaking this, it's going to grow.
Right. So it'll be better. And to be open to that criticism, it is hard and humbling to hand someone your manuscript and say, tell me everything, good, bad, or otherwise. And you just sort of squint your eyes and go, please don't be mean.
Please don't be horribly mean.
But, the criticism of my beta readers was phenomenal. I had to have it or else it wouldn't be as good. There's just no two ways about that.
Right. Putting yourself out there and letting them.
It's humbling and you've got to just be okay with yourself. Okay, well, it's nothing personal. But this paragraph doesn't work. And not be able to, go cry about it.
Get some bonbons. Netflix cute. No. So because I've always known you to be writing, whether it be novels or, any kind of literature or just songs, what do you favor? I mean, I know your heart for music.
I love worship as a way to connect to God. I prefer writing novels as a thing I do when I grow up.
Right? Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yes.
I love worship. I'm passionate about it. I don't think I'm a great songwriter. You know, I sometimes will write some stuff. I've written some jazz music recently. Played it out some. That was very fun because I'm playing with my son who's 18.
Oh,
He's
yes.
a bass player, and he just works really well with that. But my passion is writing novels. I actually that same online community was paid to write a young children's book series. It's about 20 books. It's already done, and they have them now. It's called the Zach and Katie series. And
You wrote that or with that? Or
no, this was prior.
Okay.
This was probably 3 years ago, and it was just paid contract, so I got $20 a book. I mean, it was cheap. But, you know, someone's going to illustrate it, and they're going to be in some library somewhere. So, and I enjoyed that, too. To me, it was harder writing for the little ones. I'm a big fan of vocabulary. I'm a dictionary nerd, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was actually really challenging, but it was still fun. I liked weaving a story and making it funny and making it suspenseful. And, you know, that's really more my passion is the actual writing literature.
Right. So what have you all written that's out there? Like, what would we find yet?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Nothing yet. At this moment, my agent is pitching.
Do you have a real agent?
I have an agent.
Got it. That's exciting.
It's so surreal. I cannot explain to you how surreal that is because of how many rejections. I sent the first draft out and got 15 rejections and then completely rewrote it. And this draft that I sent this year was probably the 5th draft. Okay. I kept reading books on how to make it better, and finally found out that I got an agent. You know, I'm not getting dollar signs in my eyes, but it would be nice if I could do that for a living, you know.
Right. So. To see that your dream passion. I mean, I think you would always write because that's part of who you are.
Right. It's not, and I prayed about it significantly, and I thought, you know, if I never sell a single book, that's fine. Right. It's not really what I write.
Right.
I guess I want to make the story.
Exactly. You know, and that's part of it. It's like, just get it out there. Just write something, no matter if it bombs, at least you got it out there. You know what we talk about all the time, our first podcast episode. You're like, we put it out there. And,
you know, I think that's really cool because I would really want to read your book that you have put out there just because you've written something that you're passionate about. Just because you've written because you're passionate about writing. Yeah. Not because you've written because you want to sell. Mm-hmm. Because when you write because you're passionate about writing and with no care if you sell or not, I'm going to see more of your personality come out in that.
Right.
Instead of you writing to appeal to a certain audience and what they would want to hear.
Exactly. And one of the other things that goes along with it, a lot of writers are readers. And I've read that over and over again. If you want to write, you have to read. You must make time to read or you cannot be a good writer. So I had to spend a couple of years doing research to see if my concept was already out there, and it wasn't.
Okay.
That's the cool thing, is it wasn't out there. Okay. But I also needed to make sure, okay, the genre, this one is middle grade fiction. I need to get the voice right and not be too young or too old. All my kids are much older than middle grade, so because I love to read, I saw something that was missing, and for me, this book is filling this gap. There's a Harry Potter shelf, and there's a Laura Ingalls Wilder shelf, and there is nothing in the middle. I like it. And this book is in the middle.
Yes.
And I believe in the supernatural, and a lot of fundamental books don't touch it. But I don't want to write a story about magic, because a lot of fundamental people don't like that either. Right. So this, for me, it was sort of a culmination of passion for reading and seeing something missing that I thought there should be something there.
I'm glad you said that because we've been going through Harry Potter. We love Harry Potter, but then at the same time, and I've been reading, you know, Karen Kingsbury, and sometimes she'll put in Angels Walking series. So there's talking about angels, and I get that, but I'm like, I was just literally thinking the other day, is there anything for my kids to read? So Kale's now 10. I didn't realize I just screamed that. 10, and Ryland's 9. So because I would like to give them a book.
This is their age. This is written exactly to their age.
That's awesome.
And the Frank Peretti Cooper Kids series. Have you read that one?
No.
Your kids would devour it. And it is it is overtly Christian. And so there's a limitation on that if you're trying to sell books. Okay, certain people aren't going to read it because it's a Christian book. Right. But it's entertaining, and it encapsulates suspense and intrigue and adventure and talks about God. And so there are few of those books out there that are interesting, that are modern, that aren't boring, that are well written. That was the thing that a lot of the research that I did included Kindle stuff and stuff that had 5 stars on Kindle. I would read it and my mouth would just drop open at how badly it was written. The grammar, I kind of like the self-publishing thing, but then again, a lot of self-publishing stuff is bad. It's poorly written. It's not grammatically correct.
That drives me
it's
crazy.
Cheesy,
And my
it's
eye,
predictable.
If there's a misspelled word, my eye goes straight there.
Oh, yeah.
On the page.
And I really did struggle. I considered doing this self-publishing because it's free. It doesn't cost any money. But then I really felt like God said, no, just be patient. So I did. I waited. And I got about, including the first draft, 15 rejections, and then the second go round above 25 rejections. So, 40 rejections. But then, I got one.
You got
one.
And
that's the one. That's all I needed.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't stop. I was thinking about the light bulb. What is it, 1,000 times? Or Edison.
Yeah, 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
So I always think about that. I'm like, well, that's...
And I knew that, the book, The Help, it got rejected 61 times.
Really?
Yes. And she talked about how often she rewrote it, and that was inspiring. And so lots of things got rejected, way more than mine. Right. So just being persistent in the not giving up is like because rejection, it's hard not to get angry when they go, your book is not for me. I'm like, well, what do you know? Right.
What do you know, literary agent?
Yeah, you're persistent. You're lost. And so to not get angry and go, okay, I'm just going to send out another 10. Right. And so, you do have to be perseverant in the writing of it and in the pursuing of the details. There's a lot of details.
Wow. I'm like fascinated. My jaws picked up off the ground. Like I was thinking about, how do you speak to that person, those like me, who walks into a Barnes and Noble and sees all these books and they're like, what difference would my voice make? Do you ever did you ever do that? Like go in and go, there's so many books. Why do I need
There's a child's book you should read.
Okay.
Called The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore.
Fantastic. Okay.
And that book comes into play heavily, actually, in my book. And the sentence is, everyone's story matters.
I like that.
And the book actually has a fantastic animated thing on YouTube that is wonderful. It's very short. Everyone's story matters. If I write, as a writer, my goal is not to stock the Barnes & Noble. The goal is to write my book.
Right.
A lot of times if people have a story to tell that's about something painful, it's really cathartic for them. It has a lot of healing in it if they have to write through something. No one else may ever read that, but you spill out your feelings on the paper. And to me, when I can analyze it that way, I go, okay, there's a little bit of healing that takes place. There's a little bit of separation from maybe something that was painful, or if something's funny. My sister and I were working on our family memoirs together because we had an interesting childhood, and reliving those and going back over them in written form is hysterical. Really? We all just sit around and just wet our pants laughing because some of the things that we got into as children of the 70s with no helmets and no seatbelts. It's
things that would
that's not the Barnes and Noble couldn't care less about that, but my family does.
What's your family does.
Yes. And writing your story for your kids and grandkids, things that they may never know about you, is huge. I would love to have read some things about my mother-in-law or my grandmother actually left a huge book of poetry after she passed away.
Your grandmother wrote it?
My grandmother. Okay. And no, I didn't know she wrote. And it was beautiful. But her career was teaching English, and she didn't try to pursue having it published. But you learn about the writer when they write poetry. You really see a piece of the person in it, and that was neat. I got to see a little bit more about her young life, about her life in her 20s, because that's when she wrote it. And so, speaking to the person that goes into Barnes and Nobles and says, what difference does my story make? It's like, well, Barnes and Nobles isn't the goal.
That's true.
What is your goal? If your goal is Barnes and Nobles, then it's a different track than mine. It would be more methodical, and this doesn't sound as fun to me. But that said, if you go in Barnes and Nobles, look for something missing. Look for something
That's a good idea.
Okay, I want a book about XYZ. Is it there? Okay, well, maybe it's there, but mine is a little bit different. I think that's one of the reasons I got an agent, is because my concept and my narrator aren't out there yet, which there's a billion books out there. It's kind of hard to find something new, but you just might have a different angle than somebody else.
Yes. Your story, like you said, your story matters. A different angle, people connect with you over somebody else. Just that's the nature of how life is. We just naturally gravitate towards people maybe who are more like-minded. What's the hardest thing about pursuing this passion?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have an awesome family.
Why don't you tell us about that awesome family?
Okay. My husband's name is Chad, and we've been married 22 years, and he's awesome. And we met on the worship team at the Marietta Vineyard in 1993. My oldest daughter is 27. Marlena is married to Josh, and Chad and I have a daughter, Sarah. She'll be 21 in a couple weeks. And then our youngest son, Jonathan, just turned 18.
And he's tall.
He's 6'2". Yeah,
he's you can see in listener land, but
So every November since, for the last 6 years, my husband has graciously said, okay, kids, we're having takeout and frozen meals all November
for the entire month.
Because mommy is writing.
We were just dying. Oh my goodness. That's my biggest takeaway. Okay, done. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming today.
I could not have done it without that. Yes, I got up at 4 many of those days, and no, the family was not up at 4. And that, for me, being quiet and uninterrupted was absolutely crucial. But, I couldn't have done it when I had 3 little kids at home. I just don't think I could have. Those are seasons. And I loved those seasons. I'm out of the teenage season. I'm into the adult children's season. Almost empty nesting, very close. So if maybe I'd gone back and done it over, maybe before kids showed up, I could have spent a lot of time writing, but I didn't think about that then. So for this particular scenario, I couldn't have done it without him helping me in that way. I was able to shut the door, and I didn't feel bad because he supported it. And he said, it's fine. Kids would come in and Dad would go, Mommy's writing, leave her alone. And it's really a manageable. The other thing is setting goals. The NaNoWriMo gives you 30 whole days to write 50,000 words. So it's about 1,667 words per day. That's not that much. If you think about just, a short paper, if you've got an outline, I had to do an outline. There was, I know a lot of people do the pantsing thing. You just do it by the seat of your pants. No. I could never do that. I spent probably a year doing research about the town that my book is set in, and, lots of library visits and all that. And then once November 1st hit, I followed my outline, and I wrote a minimum of 1,667 words per day. Even if I jumped around, even if it was just exactly that many. Most days I did more. And one of the great things about the NaNoWriMo community is they have pep talks every day because everybody's writing in the community. They send you emails with, go team and you can do it.
Yes.
And insight from really famous writers. Brandon Sanderson, I don't know if you know him. He's a very well-known modern fantasy writer.
Okay.
He does pep talks, and other people that have had their books written through NaNoWriMo and had them published. They say things like, don't delete anything, just write. Just word vomit, put it on the paper. Don't try to write your final draft because that's not what this is. This is your first draft. Right. Approaching that huge novel one day at a time, I've done it every year. And so it's manageable. It is in little pieces with preparation. It's very manageable.
I like it. Bite size. What was that? How do you eat an elephant? One bite,
One bite
at a time. Or something like that. Yeah. I think that is great. And that's great advice because you just start somewhere. You start somewhere, like you said. And in this community, is it like a paid, do you pay to be
No,
in it?
it's
Like,
free.
oh,
No, you can donate. They actually have a
okay.
huge literacy advocate group. They really encourage writing and reading among young people, and so they have different camps, and they raise, I don't know how many $1 million a year donated towards literacy, and it's totally free. You can donate if you like, and you get a little halo on your badge online, but you don't have to. And some years I have, and some years I've not been able to. So it's just really, it was cool. They have what they call municipal liaison. So if you live in Ackworth, you go and look up, okay, my region. Oh, John Smith is my municipal liaison, and he might do a party at the library. So that's what happened just a couple weeks ago, right before, it was actually Halloween Day. My municipal liaison did a kickoff party at the library, and like 10 people came. We had pizza and chips, and we talked about writing and how long we've done it, and just encourage each other. Hey, go do it,
Yeah.
And it was neat to meet people that are doing the same thing,
And how do you not? Okay, this is my hang up. I'll see all those people doing the same thing, and I don't know if it's a competitive thing or be like, I will be like, oh, she's trying to do it, so I'm just going to go ahead and bow out. Maybe it's an issue. Maybe I need counseling.
Well, I know I was the only middle grade fiction writer in the room. They were all fantasy writers. But, I will never say that I will never write a fantasy book because I love Tolkien and, Lord of the Rings and all that stuff.
Yes.
But that's not what I'm writing currently. So, and some people want to do their memoirs. So it's more like just an encouragement. It's not, there was no competition at all. Some people had tried 5 years in a row and had never finished their 50,000 words. Okay. And I will say, it's all on the honor system. I mean, you could, they verify your word count on the last day of the month with you uploading your total manuscript, and they just count the words. That's it. And so you could upload some document that has enough words in it and fake it, but I don't want to do that.
And that's just for you. Like nobody sees that.
Nobody sees that, and it's
like
encrypted. Yeah, it's encrypted, so they can't steal your novel.
The next.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But you just keep track of your words every day. Like I'm a little bit behind for this month because I have a lot of other things going on. But I'm still writing. I'm writing the second book of my trilogy this month, and trying to do my 1,667 words a day.
Well, this is awesome that you're here because we're obviously taking time away from when you could be writing and talking to us on this podcast.
Yes,
that's okay. It's not 5 o'clock in the morning. So
living's. Well, hey, where does your love for literature draw from? Is that
okay? I can't verify this, but I'm really trying hard to verify this. I'm descended from Ralph Waldo Emerson.
No.
My granddad's name was Walter Emerson Abbott, and rumor has it that Ralph Waldo was his great uncle. I'm trying to find paperwork to define that, or to actually say for sure.
That's cool.
Because then I could put that in my bio on the book.
Yeah.
But my grandmother taught English for 40 years in the public school system. And my mom read to us. We just read. We didn't have a lot growing up. We were pretty low middle class, but the library is free.
Right.
And it was way before technology, and I just loved to read. I read quickly. In high school, my next door neighbor had the Harlequin Romance subscription, and she had about 200 books, and I read a book a day.
Oh my goodness.
7th grade and 8th grade, I went over to her house and borrowed one whole book every day.
She was the library.
From her romances, so I've read them all. I don't know. It's an escape. A lot of people, there's a lot of people do use it as escape, and that was a lot of why I read, is to escape different situations growing up. But I'm not, other than that, I'm not really sure. Just the love of story and being able, it takes you somewhere and gets you someplace different than you are. And seeing myself in the characters or wanting to laugh or wanting to cry or whatever. It's just, it's always been a part of our family. Hopefully I can confirm the Ralph Waldo connection.
So we talked about what you would say to those who are kind of feeling like, oh, my voice is one of many. Should I go out and put it out there? And talking to that person saying, yes, your voice matters. You got an angle nobody else has but you. You have the only voice. You're the only person that has your voice.
Exactly.
And you say a quote, I like this, by Edmund Wilson, that no two persons ever read the same book. Is that part of your book? Or?
It is, yeah.
Oh, so never mind. I should not put that in
No,
there?
you can. That's
okay, because he wrote, yeah.
Yeah, and you can go on Goodreads and find that quote.
Okay, yeah. So no two persons ever read the same book, Edmund Wilson. I like that. And I think that is very true.
Yeah, because I'll read one and have one takeaway, and you could read the same book and have a totally different takeaway. And that's neat.
Which is a good lead-in for another book that Tiffany and I both read that we're going to do a podcast on later. That I loved it. She was like, I hate it. So when is, so you're in the beginning stages, but we'll have to keep everybody posted on
Yes, I do have an author page on my Facebook.
Okay.
And it's called the Every When series.
Okay. Every
When series, yeah. And I also have a website.
I like that.
everywinseries.com.
Everywinseries.com.
Yeah.
And on your Facebook page, you have a Facebook page with Every Win. Okay.
Yeah, and a website. So right now it's being pitched to publishers. The last time I talked to my agent, she hoped that it would be in stores in 2019.
That's
and
awesome.
That's kind of shocking. That's about normal. 18 to 36 months is really a normal time frame from the time a book is sold until it is for sale in a bookstore.
Right, because you pitched her the idea. Now you've got to finish the
it's finished, and she's pitching it to a publisher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the final draft was submitted to the agency.
Okay. Today.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay, so we know how we can find you and learn more about you and keep posted on the book. We know that we can pursue this passion because every voice matters. And please, 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 from every librarian everywhere, read to your children and have them read. I mean, we've got to hit the moms that are young. I mean, they know that. I think moms do that.
And the other thing is, since we're mentioning that, small town librarians, I love you all. They just really, they've kept it going. And I know libraries are getting a lot of places are losing funding. And just make sure you patronize your public library, donate your time, donate money if you have it, and go, because that's where it starts for a lot of people.
What is your writing kryptonite? And then we'll leave it at that.
What is my writing kryptonite would be a bad mood. Like if I'm angry at whatever, it's hard for me really to detach from that, or if I'm grumpy, not maybe sleepy, I haven't eaten well or whatever.
Right.
Lack of coffee.
Color your mood. Yeah.
If I'm in some kind of argument with my husband or something, it is hard to hone back down and write. So I would say a bad mood would be my kryptonite.
I like it. And we'll end with this because we usually end with asking our guests on the show, what are you doing to grow yourself as a leader in your community?
Writing related is actually cool. I was just asked to speak at the local Writers Guild.
Wow, cool.
Once they saw that I got an agent. Because I just joined. I wanted to be official, and do, like doctors subscribe to certain publications. Well, I'm a writer. I'm going to join the local Writers Guild. So I'm speaking in December at the local Writers Guild. And I love libraries and reading programs because literacy is huge for me. And so whenever I can talk about reading to children, I will do that. Yes. And this Writers Guild meets at the library. And really my hope is it's a middle grade fiction book. And, our community had their first ever book festival this past summer. And I volunteered with the book festival. R.L. Stein, who writes Goosebumps, he came and spoke at our book festival. Yes, it was huge. It was for a small town. It was really, really cool. And I love that. I just, promoting literacy, I will always be an advocate of the library and donate my time. And I hope to speak at the library, have a book signing at that library. And the character, there's a librarian in my book. Hi, Tammy, who her name is Tammy, and she's the librarian in Collinwood, a tiny little town. And I gave her my novel to read very first before anybody because it has libraries in the book. And she was so encouraging, and I would love to go there as well because small towns, it's hard for small town rural America to grasp the importance of literacy. And it's an uphill battle. And so I would love to be there and have a voice into that.
That's awesome. I like that. Well, Allison, we are so glad that you could come and share your passion for writing. And we'll be praying for you. We'll also be looking for your book.
Yes.
So
I'm so excited. Yeah, this is awesome.
This is where Allison started her book tour. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that. But, do you have any parting words? Anything?
My parting words would be, Toni Morrison said, the quote is, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it.
I love it. It's another goosebumpy thing. Well, you heard it here. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. That's it for today. Tune in next time as we continue to dive into life.
In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us at teaoflifepodcast.com or follow us on Instagram at teaoflifepodcast.
Until next time, in the words of Monty Python,
Make tea, not war.